Where have all the home buyers gone in Metro Detroit? That's what a lot of news organizations are saying in headlines as our market is in a lot of flux. Things are not the same today as they were 6 months ago. So today I thought I would give you some facts that you can actually use if you're thinking about buying a home or selling a home here in Southeast Michigan, so stay tuned. Buying a house is an emotional decision, and if we're looking at the news organizations 6, 7, 8 months ago, a year ago, they were largely pushing the narrative that the market is on fire and everything is crazy and hurry up and go buy a house right now. And then now things are changing. Based on the market pullback, the stock pullback, the Bitcoin pullback, it's really easy for even the most analytical person to get caught up in the narrative. And what I want you to have today is some really good, fast, fact-based stuff you can take back to your family, you can take back to your friends, you can take it to your coworkers at work, and really be armed with the knowledge of what's going on in today's market. So the number one reason I'm hearing right now that people do not want to buy a home are the interest rates. So I actually broke that down and I put a screenshot right here of the difference between a 3.5% interest rate, which is what it was back in January when the market was like white hot, and today it's 6.5%. Essentially, I'm using a market average of $300,000, 20% down, so a $240,000 loan amount, which is the average sales price and loan amount here in Metro Detroit. So that's going to cost you $1,517 per month today at 6.5%. And that's up from $1,078 back in January for the same home and the same loan. So it's going to be about a $439 per month difference. And so if you think about it, a $439 difference for the average family is a lot of money, but it's also not as much money as the rent changes. It's a massive amount of difference when you look at what's going on in that marketplace. So with a lot of the news speculation, a lot of people are just hearing that interest rates have gone way up, so it's going to be unaffordable to buy a home. But if you break it down, things didn't exactly change as much as the sensational news would have us believe. But what about the market pullback? Now let's talk about that. When we hear about a market pullback, a lot of people are going to assume that prices are falling left and right. And let's face it, we're seeing more price reductions today on listings than we have in years. But let's talk about the final sales prices of what's going on today, because those are the numbers that matter. Back in January, the average single family home here in Southeast Michigan in the 5-county area sold at $241,500. Then, if you look at September of this year, the average sales price of a single family home has increased to $284,000, completely overriding the narrative that the prices are pulling back. Now, are there a lot of price decreases? Absolutely. There are a lot of sellers that got a little overzealous in regard to what they thought their home was actually worth. Absolutely, I get that. About a year ago, you could have listed your home for, let's say, $500,000, even if it was only worth $450,000, and you still would have gotten an offer on some dollar amount. Today, you've got to be more smart about it. You've got to look at the market conditions, and you have to look at the upgrades or lack of upgrades and make some hard decisions based on what's actually going on in the market if you actually want to sell. So if prices aren't pulling back, what actually is the opportunity for buyers in today's market? Well, you've got a lot less buyers looking to buy because many buyers are sitting on the fence, just sort of waiting to see what happens. So what's happening is sellers are getting more realistic and taking a little bit less than the list price. And I think this is good. The data suggests that 90 days ago, sellers were getting 99.9% of their list price to sales price ratio, meaning that anything they listed for, they were getting that number. In today's market, on average, sellers are getting 97% of what they're asking. And so while prices are still going up, sellers are getting a little bit more comfortable with the idea that they might not get exactly what they asked. Also, a positive for buyers is that the terms have changed. In 2020, 2021, and early 2022, buyers were giving a free 30-day or 60-day rent back to sellers, as well as paying way more than appraised value for homes in a lot of cases. And this boxed a lot of people out of the market that didn't have 30 or 40% to put down, especially first-time home buyers that have an average down payment below 10%. When I bought my first home, I did an FHA loan with a 3.5% down, and there is no way I could have competed or gotten an offer accepted in this climate before, but now I can, and so can you. All right, 4 more things to consider when you're looking at buying or selling a home here in Metro Detroit in the near future. One would be also builder incentives and what's going on with builders. So in 2008 and 9, builders largely shut down, and you had a lot of them going out of business left and right. And that left us with a little bit over 1 million homes that were just never built, that never showed up on the market. And so here we are, 10, 12 years later, and builders have been trying to catch up by buying more land, trying to launch more projects, but they've been also reined in by the supply chain issues, trying to figure out the labor issue, and it's become a problem where we still to this day don't have enough homes to meet the buyers that are looking to buy out there. Now we do have more supply, and as interest rates have raised, new construction in that realm has been hit the hardest. And the main reason being is that many buyers are a little skittish, not knowing what's going to happen a year from now in the market. So maybe they would rather go on to just buy a resale, getting a fixed interest rate. They know exactly what they're going to pay and they know what the market is they're buying in right now today. So many builders are counteracting this with new option money like lot discounts for daylight basements or walkout basements. They're giving financial incentives to lock in the interest rate for up to 6 to 10 months, and several have even started offering discount upgrade packages. A lot of things just to get you back in the door. This is a great opportunity for buyers that are considering a new build, and it's a great time to take advantage of those things right now in this market. Counting down the 6 things, we have 3 more to go. What I look at in the 5-county area that my team service in Southeast Michigan, which is Oakland, Macomb, Livingston, Wayne, and Washtenaw counties, when we're looking at average listings versus pendings, I'm looking for a trend. I want to find out what's going to happen in the future by looking at what's happening right now. And for the most part, right now, we are still on an even pace between number of homes coming to the market and number of homes that are pending, aka accepting an offer in the month of September 2022. So that makes this an even market, neither a buyer's market or a seller's market. So again, this whole idea of a market pullback doesn't really make a lot of sense when you actually look at the numbers and you dive into the raw data itself. And we're still in a good jobs market with a lot of positives for our local economy, especially here in Metro Detroit. I think we're going to do well for years to come. Here's what's more. We're seeing the number of homes come up for sale continue to fall for one reason and one reason only. Sellers have what's called the golden handcuffs with their current mortgages. Golden handcuffs is a term traditionally meaning incentives that employers give to employees to keep them at a company, like future stock options, future raises or promotions, or some other financial incentive. And in this case, I'm going to repurpose that term to use it in the view of real estate. Over 70% of all mortgages right now in existence per Fannie and Freddie are at or below a 3.5% interest rate. Today's interest rates are almost double, on approach to 7%. In January, if a seller sold and moved from a home worth, let's say, $250 and they bought like 5 years ago, and then they bought up the next level home, let's say at $500, their payment would change from $898 per month to $1,796 per month. So double, and that makes perfect sense. Same interest rate, double mortgage amount. Today it would go from $898 per month to $2,661. That is 3.5 times the current mortgage payment, and that's a lot. And right now, I'm advising a lot of people that would like to move but don't need to move. It'd be a nice to do, not need to do, just to stay in their current home and mortgage interest rates until they come back down next year. After really looking at their situations, it's often not worth jumping up their payment by $1,750 per month or $20K per year just to get another bedroom or a little more square footage. And if that person doesn't move, it takes a home off the market a first-time buyer, more than likely, because that's the price range, could have bought. We're in an odd predicament where the rising interest rates are not causing prices to fall, but instead to stabilize. All right, so this is the last factor or point, and it's a little more anecdotal than anything, but if you look at the rental market here in Metro Detroit, things are still climbing, and that's because buyers are still pretty well on the fence of what to do. Should I buy? Should I not buy? Should I rent? Now, let me share with you one of my own personal experiences. I have a rental in Royal Oak that I listed for lease, and I received over 30 applications in just 2 weeks. Now, that allowed me to be super picky as a landlord on people that had, let's say, bad credit versus great credit, good income versus no income, and with like no crazy background or anything like that. So we look at one place receiving 30 applications, and that just kind of shows that there are still plenty of demand in the area, and Royal Oak is not alone. So I took a little bit of time and called and checked in with several apartment complexes in each of the counties that we serve, and found that on average, apartment complexes are now charging $450 more per month than the same apartment would have been the same month 1 year ago. I see a lot of people seeing the rate hikes and saying to themselves, well, I'm not going to make a move right now because interest rates are so high. I don't want to lock into a high rate and a high payment and then turn around and find that their rent payment, their apartment complex or house has now jumped up on the release 30, 40, or even 50%. And so now we're starting to get those calls where people are turning around and looking at that new lease rate and saying, well, even with high interest rates, regardless of what's going on, I could still actually afford a home for a lower payment than that same apartment. So in the comments below, are you looking to rent somewhere or would you rather buy? Let me know. I would love some feedback on that topic. And like I said in the opener, buying or selling a home really is more of an emotional decision than a fact-based decision that even the most analytical thinker can talk themselves into or out of a place at any given time based on what they're looking at. You could walk into that quartz kitchen and say, wow, this is it. This is the kitchen I've always wanted. Or go out and look at that big backyard that you've always wanted and start making the decision based on emotion versus being analytical. In my opinion, there is never a bad time to buy a home. If your horizon is long enough, if you're one of the people that want to speculate with real estate and you're going to be popping in or popping out of homes all the time, aka you're going to buy or sell within, let's say, a 2-year time period or less, you're going to put yourself into a losing proposition on just closing costs alone. You're not going to recoup it. But if you're a more standard, typical American like myself, where you're going to buy a home and stay in it as long as 13 years at this point, because that's the average, but at least 5 or 6, you are 100% of the time going to come out on top. Should you be looking for your next home, give us a call. We would be honored to receive the call to work for you and your family, getting you into your next property or maximizing the dollars out of your current property at 248-221-2777. My name is Mike Perna. I'm a local real estate agent for over 21 years. Check out our real estate reviews by Googling Michael Perna Reviews. We have over 2,300 5-star reviews, more than anyone else in Michigan. Also, before we go, please hit the like button to help this video get out to more people, and subscribe because we put out new videos every single week here about Metro Detroit, and we will see you guys on the next video.